Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Jana.
Hi, I'm Emma.
And today we're going to be talking about getting out of a bad relationship.
Am I? I don't know yet.
Over the last few weeks we've been talking about Lottie, a fictional story that sees how a relationship develops with Jake and how it becomes abusive. Could you tell us where we are with that at the moment?
Well, Lottie met Jake just a few weeks ago outside an under-18s disco, and since that time she's pretty much been in constant contact with him. There's been lots of messages, he's bought her lots of gifts, taken her out for meals, and she's now at the point this week we see she's meeting Jake's friends and they're not who she thought they were. She's at a party, we don't know where she is, she's alienated herself from her friends.
So how do you know you're in a bad relationship?
When the communication breaks down and you don't feel that you can tell someone how you really feel, if you start to feel afraid, if you start to feel worried, relationships are meant to do the opposite. They're supposed to, make you feel good about yourself and make you feel supported. And if that's not happening, then that's not a healthy relationship.
Are there any particular signs you should look out for that might be an indicator that it's a bad relationship?
So one thing that you can do is take a step back, maybe make a list about that relationship, what you think is good about it, what you think is negative, and if you see that there's a lot of negative things on that list, then it's time to start thinking about whether you should be in that relationship. Another good thing to do is to listen to friends, listen to family, and seek the advice from people around you that you know care about you and know have your best interest at heart.
In Lottie's case, we see that Jake is encouraging her at first to keep things secret from her mum. He's also really controlling about what she's doing, where she's going, and he also expects her to be in constant communication and answer his messages really quickly, so that's a warning sign too.
So even if you're in a bad relationship, it can be very difficult to end it. Why is it so important to do that?
In a relationship, you can be so emotionally attached to that relationship and to that person that you can't imagine yourself outside of that relationship. Actually, being able to exit that relationship means that you can think about yourself, think about the future and your own happiness, and start to work on yourself.
So you've decided you want to end a relationship, but what are the things that would make it difficult to do that?
Manipulation or guilt tripping, that can be very difficult. You might feel that you're hurting the other person. You don't owe that person your time and your efforts and your energy if that relationship is making you unhappy.
But if you've been groomed, it can be really difficult to try and end a relationship. And when we're talking about grooming, that's someone that's tried to build a trusting relationship with you, but they're really not what they seem. So they're doing it for some bad purposes and they're trying to control you. So if you've done something like you shared photographs of yourself, you may be worried about what might happen to those photographs afterwards. Take that power back, because when somebody's grooming you, the groomers will know that they've got that power over you and they'll use these things to manipulate you. So by dealing with those consequences, you take back the power and you stop them in their journey. If something like that has happened, talk to someone. So whether that's a trusted adult or give Childline a call to share that and try and work through that.
So what are some ways to end the relationship?
Think about what you want to say, think about how you're feeling about it and base it around that. You may want to practice how you say things as well, so you're not saying them for the first time when you meet up. Think about the time and place that you do it as well. So make sure that you're in a neutral space. You may want to have a friend close by as well, so they're there to back you up. Think about how you're getting home and what you're doing immediately afterwards as well. So whether that's going home with a friend or getting a taxi as well.
So you've made that really brave decision to end the relationship, you've done it, but what happens after that?
It's important to keep your distance, to make sure not to fall back into that same relationship again. One way to do that is to really put your energy into other things that you enjoy, spending time with family and friends and people who care about you, and try to kind of surround yourself with that support system, even if it's, setting you extra homework so that you can distract yourself.
And I think it's important to be kind to yourself as well, and just know that things will get better. So really just take it a day at a time. And I think it's same for Lottie as well. She's invested a lot of time and energy in Jake, and she's had to defend him to her friends as well. But you can clearly see that there is a lot of love and support around her with her friends. So it's just being brave enough to take up that offer of support.
So what happens if you don't feel like yourself when the relationship's ended?
Allow yourself time to heal. Just because you're the one who ended the relationship doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel hurt or upset about it. Feelings were still attached and you may have felt that you loved that person. Taking it one step at a time, and slowly, day by day, you will start to feel more and more like yourself again.
But I think if you are feeling overwhelmed, then it's really important that you talk to somebody. So talk to a trusted adult, talk to Childline about how you're feeling, and they can help you to work that through. If your ex still tries to keep in contact with you, and that's not okay if they're constantly trying to contact you. So you can in fact get in touch with the police and let them know, and they'll give you advice about that.
So what if you're worried about a friend? How can you support them and a relationship?
Keeping yourself available, so they might not want to speak initially, but if you just let them know that you're around and they can talk to you anytime.
If it gets to a point where that person just kind of isn't listening, speak to an adult, because, you know, ultimately that person's safety and that person's happiness is your main priority. It's important not to feel guilty about actually going to an adult and speaking to someone who can really do something about it.
So what if you're really worried about a friend and that their safety might be in danger?
If you're talking to your friends, and if you can try and get your point across and get them into a place of safety, maybe go home together, don't let them go off on their own. That's an important thing. But again, if you are really concerned about their safety, then you could maybe call their parents, or if there's real danger going on, then you call the police. Trust your own instincts, I think.
Sure.
Listen to your own reactions, and do what you need to do to keep yourself safe and also keep your friends safe.
And that just shows how complicated relationships can be.
It's not about a clear-cut sign or clear-cut red flags. It's about how you're feeling and listening to that voice inside you that's saying, hold on, something isn't right.
I think that's really right. If you're convincing yourself that something is okay and you're having to really wrestle with what's going on inside, then something's wrong, and you should really listen to yourself in that process.
Thanks so much for coming in today, guys. That was amazing.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.